Hello and welcome, sports card fans, to another edition of ThePit.com Sports Card Market Movers Report. Today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Lucas Giolito and his 2013 Bowman Chrome Prospects Autograph Rookie Card, BGS 9.5 graded. So this particular card was one of the best sellers on the pit last year, thanks to his breakout season with the White Sox. So he was originally drafted by the Nationals, with who he's depicted on this card. He was traded in a deal that included outfielder Adam Eaton going to the Nationals. Of course, Eaton has had a little bit of a mixed career with the Nationals, but he did win the World Series with them last year and did have a good postseason. So Giolito in 2018 had a pretty rough season. He had a very high ERA, I believe over 6. But last year he really broke out. He limited the walks, which was a problem for him earlier in his career, and he struck out a lot of batters, more batters than he ever had before, 11 per 9 innings. And take a look at Fangraphs. So Fangraphs last year, he had a 32% strikeout rate in 176 innings, and that allowed him to have a ERA of 3.41. His FIP, which goes by his strikeout to walk ratio, more so than his actual earned runs allowed, estimated an ERA of 3.43. So he pretty much pitched right up to his peripheral stats. So that's a good sign. So people are still pretty high on Giolito. His market hasn't been quite as hot because of the fact that they just simply haven't been playing. He's not arbitration eligible until 2021, so this is a guy who is probably going to be around with the White Sox for a while, and very likely somebody who they may be trying to get a contract extension with, especially if he pitches well this year. The projections do call for a little bit of a regression on his strikeout rate. So last year he had an 11.62 per 9 strikeout rate. That's pretty high, and a very strong 2.9 walks per 9 strikeout rate. Another thing to watch is his home run rate. 1.22, not terrible, not terrible. And that's another factor that goes into the fielding independent pitching ERA estimator. So you really want to keep those. He really wants to keep those home runs around about that rate. He really needs to keep those walks around, 3 walks per 9, and he does try to need to keep his strikeout rate as high as possible. And you see, there's the various projection systems. They do see a bit of a regression on his strikeout rate, and a little bit of regression on his walk rate. So a little bit higher walk rate, a little bit lower strikeout rate. Zips in particular is pretty high on him, essentially repeating last year's results, whereas Steamer, ATC, and the Bat are a little bit less optimistic. They still see him, as a well above average pitcher, but not necessarily the all-star level that a pitcher would need to maintain in the hobby. Pitchers tend to be a lot more difficult to invest in long term, simply because of their risk of injury and the fact that they can go on some pretty mediocre tears. And to really see appreciation in the hobby for a pitcher, you really need to go on very good stretches like what he had, where he was just dominating pretty much, start after start after start. So the Pit does have a number of these in stock to be able to trade. So right now the Pit has 2 available for $43.95 and 4 available for $54.95. So this is a card that's been selling on eBay for about $54 to $59 plus shipping in the last month or so. So if you add shipping, probably around $57 to $62 shipped. So that's a pretty good price. So the $43.95 is definitely a steal for this card. This is a card that, it's not selling quite the way it was, but it is still selling fairly consistently every couple of weeks. And there are also 12 holdings on the Pit. So if you want to put in a bid for this card, try to get in on this card a little bit cheaper, you can do that. There is a bid buying for $34.95 right now. So Giolito, definitely a card to watch. Definitely a guy to watch going into the season. He is the ace of the White Sox. Of course, Michael Kopech is going to be back this year. Of course, he had Tommy John surgery a couple of years ago, so he missed the entire 2019 season pretty much, except for I think the very end he came back for a couple appearances, but throwing 100 in spring training. Giolito was looking pretty good too. So what are your thoughts on Giolito? What are your thoughts on the White Sox as a whole? Of course, the White Sox surprised this year and do very well, and perform well this year. That obviously helps Giolito. So playing for a winning team obviously would help him a lot as well. But even not on a winning team, he was still seeing plenty of interest in his card. So, if you really believe in the White Sox, all these signings that they've made in the past year, if you really like, Luis Robert, and you believe, Yasmani Grandal will really solidify them behind the plate. If you really think that the White Sox are going to be a good team this year or in the next couple of years, which they probably will be, especially with the Indians getting weaker and the Tigers and Royals not really getting all that much better. So there's definitely an opportunity for the White Sox to really make a run at things. So yeah, so that is Giolito. The Pit definitely has a good deal on his cards if you're looking to get in right now. Let us know who you're chasing after in this quiet period of baseball not being actively played. Love to hear your thoughts. Hope to see you trading at the Pit very soon. And take care. Happy collecting.